And you're welcome back. Let's get started with our big story for today. Now, Nigeria's judicial landscape has been thrust into the spotlight once again as activist and lawyer Dele Rotimi remains in detention after being denied bail in the defamation suit filed by legal icon Afe Babalola. Rotimi, known for his outspoken views on governance and justice, now finds himself at the center of a controversial legal battle that many argue has far-reaching implications for freedom of expression in the country. Now, this case highlights ongoing tensions within Nigeria's judicial system, particularly how defamation laws can be wielded against dissenting voices as debates rage over the balance between protecting reputations and upholding free speech. Rotimi's plight raises a number of questions about the judicial fairness afforded to activists who challenge the status quo.
So to help us unpack this, we are joined by our esteemed guest here, and that's none other than Adam Wahab. He is a senior associate in dispute resolution practice at Olaniwa Ajay LP. You are welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
So as a lawyer, you're going to help us unpack all of this that's happening right now, because everybody's agog with everything that's happening regarding the case, especially when you compare it to other high-profile cases that are happening right now. People argue about the heavy-handedness of this issue, especially that it seems to be a civil one. So please do give us some legal explanations to what we are seeing here.
Okay, well, first, I must let you know that it would be nice to consider this devoid of emotions. So let's look at law as it is. So as a lawyer, I know that every citizen has the right to freedom of expression.
Right.
And that right includes the right to hold any opinion and even to impact such an opinion or the view the person may hold. However, the same provision of the Constitution make restrictions of this right. In fact, you agree that there's no right anywhere in the world that is absolute. So this constitutional right that is embedded in the Constitution is not absolute, and there are certain restrictions. And one of it is that the right may be restricted by any law that is validly made by the National Assembly, and that law has to be justifiable, reasonable in a democratic society such as Nigeria. Now, the question then is, the laws under which this person is being held, are these laws first, are they valid law, are they laws validly made in Nigeria? And then the next question is, are they reasonably justifiable in a democratic society? Now, the question of defamation can give rise to either a civil liability or a criminal liability. Now, as to the civil liability, it's just an issue between two private citizens. But when it comes to the criminal element of it, it's no longer an issue between two private entities. The nominal complainant, who is the person against whom the defamatory statement has been made, will have engineered the instrument of the state to kickstart the criminal proceedings against the person who have alleged to make the defamatory statement. Okay. And then that would then lead to a criminal proceedings where we have the person brought before the court in a criminal charge. But the question is, yes, we have laws that criminalizes defamation in certain states, not even everywhere in Nigeria, because some states have moved on. Yes.
So even these laws have their different ramifications in the different states.
Yes.
Now, you noted that it's a civil, it could be a civil or criminal case. Where does it cross the line into being criminal, especially considering the anatomy of this situation right now? He wrote a book.
Yes.
It was published.
Yes.
It's on sale.
Yes.
So is it the writing of it and publishing of it that makes his expression of freedom of expression a crime?
So to answer this question, you have to look at the ingredients of what constitutes a civil defamation and a criminal defamation. And you just need to examine the statutes that made these provisions. For criminal proceedings, it's essentially the same as the ingredient you have for civil in terms of was the publication made by the defendant? Was the publication disparaging of the reputation of the nominal complainant? Has anybody read, downloaded, or utilized that material? And as the publication has the effect of disparaging the character and the reputation of the nominal complainant. Now, these are the ingredients, but the difference again in this is that the standard that the law has imposed on the state, the standard of proof of each of these ingredients is quite higher than what is required in a civil proceedings where it's between two private individuals. The standard now it has to be proved beyond reasonable that each of these ingredients for the defendants to be held criminally liable for the alleged act of defamation. But I must clarify that historically, it is a crime everywhere in the country, but some states have evolved. For instance, Lagos State has amended its own criminal laws, so also Ekiti State and one other state, I think Edo State, you cannot file a charge of defamation against any person because it's no longer an offense. And as far as the Constitution is concerned, under Section 36, nothing is an offense except it is proscribed as an offense by a statute. So if at the time of the alleged act, there is no law that has proscribed that act that you are complaining about, then it is not an offense, it's not a crime. In Lagos State, in Ekiti State, and in Edo State, there is no such thing known as criminal defamation.
Now, I've been informed that David Udeh, investigative journalist, joins us now live as well. David, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us this morning. I mean, you've heard from our guest here in the studio, Adam Wahab, and he's talked about really the law regarding defamation and, libel and the rest. But I would like to come to you, in terms of your work and experience covering activist cases and just really looking at the judicial system from your own point of view as an investigative journalist. How are you going to assess this matter, this case, and just in terms of, dissent, and the varying voices of dissent? Do you see this being a judicial pushback? Do you see this being just Nigeria and its system, displaying its ugly head as usual?
It was absolutely amazing.
So I actually put out a newsletter about this sometime last week, where the central arguments that I made in that newsletter was that the problem that I have with this case and others like it in the Nigerian judicial system now is not so much the fact that people in power they've discovered the use of so-called SLAP litigation. SLAP stands for strategic lawsuits against public participation. That's a thing around the world. That it's in fact, SLAP lawsuits are the most popular jurisdiction for SLAP lawsuits is the UK, because under UK law, the burden of proof is on the defendants and not on the claimant. So as far as that goes, Nigeria is nothing special there. Where I have an issue is that unlike everywhere else, the specifics of the law involved don't seem to exist. And what I mean by that is, it seems as if, depending on which side of the bed you wake up on in Nigeria, whether as a lawyer or as a judge or as someone with money who can influence lawyers and judges to get certain actions done in your behalf, you can have the law effectively interpreted in any way at all that you see fit, which basically means that Nigeria doesn't really have laws as it stands. Take this case, for example, where you had someone who wasn't in hiding. He lives in Lagos. Everybody knows where he is. This book has been out since June, I think it was June 5th that this book was released. I know this because we actually exchanged messages just a couple of days before the book came out. I remember I was in Addis Ababa, he was in Lagos, and we had a long conversation about it. And after the book was released, he did a small media tour. He did an appearance on, Sheryl Kimberly's podcast, the Wade Show. And he was constantly talking about it on his YouTube channel, on his social media. There was nothing about this that was a secret, right? This wasn't something that, this was published in some corner of the internet and then somebody went somewhere to hide or something. This was in the open, right? And there was no pushback, there was no action taken, nothing. And then all of a sudden, coincidentally, the month where he launches a sort of political action campaign, because if you recall, shortly before he was arrested, he had put together a small group of journalists and civil society figures and political activists. I was part of that group, by the way. And the purpose of that group was to put pressure on the legislature and the government to enact some form of electoral reform. So specifically that the Electoral Amendment Act 2022 should be amended again, this time to state very clearly that electronic transmission of results is mandated and that independent candidacy is permitted. That was what he was working on. And as soon as, he was suggesting, even publicly, that as a way of pushing this campaign, that Nigerians should stage a sit-at-home sort of civil disobedience protest on the 3rd of December. He was arrested on the 2nd of December, which is an incredible coincidence. So it just strikes me that depending on whether the people in power consider you to be enough of a threat or enough of an irritation, in Nigeria now, somebody can just wake up and have a law. It doesn't even have to be a law that even exists, as we've seen in the case of Dele Farotimi now. There is no law in Ekiti under which somebody can be effectively extradited across state lines to come stand trial, criminal trial for defamation. No such law exists in Ekiti State. And yet, the lawyers involved, by the way, these are not, ambulance chasing lawyers. These are senior advocates of Nigeria, more than one of them. The judge, the magistrate involved, the Nigeria police force, everybody colluded to extradite somebody from one jurisdiction to another state jurisdiction to face trial under a law that does not exist. So the danger I am seeing in all of this is that effectively Nigeria is entering on this sort of uncharted territory in its history, where effectively there is no set of legal standards that the country is actually governed by. Nothing you do in Nigeria is unambiguously legal or illegal. I think we actually started seeing this precedent set last year when, in the name of the post-election
Election
petition
tribunal.
tribunals, where all manner of judgments were passed, where things that we thought that were stated very clearly in plain English, the judges gave some very incredible interpretations. We had always understood, for example, 36 states and the FCT to mean one thing, and then all of a sudden the legal definition of the word "and" went all the way to the Supreme Court. And then the law was effectively changed. It was effectively changed by the judge's interpretation in a way that it has never been interpreted before.
Setting precedents.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
The law of the law of double nomination, which is also very, very clearly written, it was interpreted in a different way. The judge gave an incredible judgment. The law of dual citizenship, the law of disclosure of such things, on everything you can imagine, was stood on its head to ensure that a predetermined outcome was arranged. So that was the precedent that was set. So now, effectively, we're at a point in Nigeria where whatever is written in the law books doesn't matter. Even if you are a lawyer who has, you know your stuff, right? You've read the Constitution back and forth 257 times. You know all the legal statutes and criminal codes and everything. You cannot expect to win an argument based on points of law in Nigeria anymore, because the judge or the judiciary basically has a free hand to do absolutely whatever the hell it wants, and nobody can do anything about it. There is basically no judicial oversight, meaningful judicial oversight. So now we're going to keep seeing more and more cases like this, where as soon as somebody who is seen to be a dissenter or who is seen to be an irritant to those in power develops enough of an audience, enough of a platform, and the people in power decide to teach this person a lesson, they don't really have to do much anymore. All they have to do now is just, tap the SAN or the judge working for them and interpret a law that says 2 + 2 is 4, can be effectively rewritten through the interpretation of a judge now to say that 2 + 2 is 57. And we can't do anything about it. The judge can say that this is a cow, and say that no, legally, this is now a Starlink space rocket.
All right,
and you can't do anything about it.
Just a second, David.
Right, David, I wanted to cut you there because we still have Adam here in the studio, right? But I'm going to come to you later on to ask about the denial of the bill, which has now been widely criticized. At first, they gave a 50 million naira bill and also a shorty in like sum as well. But now that has also been denied. But let's come back to the studio to talk to Adam.
Now, Adam, you from before regarding the ambiguity of this law, and then also David also touched on the arbitrary nature with which this case of defamation, the use of the word defamation is being used. Now, if we can get clarity, now there is no law as is being touted right now regarding this case. Am I correct? Is that what you're saying regarding defamation?
So, in fact, this gives me an opportunity to clarify. No,
Yes, please.
and I bet to disagree with David. The state can choose to prosecute any person for any offense anytime. There is no limitation of time. There's no bar as to when they can decide to wake up and prosecute a person once there is evidence, once they have a complainant, and once the investigation has been concluded. Now, as to the procedure, this person is a lawyer. He knows his right, but he knows there's a process. If a person is brought before a court for under a law that does not exist, the judge has to allow the process, and he knows what to do through his lawyers.
Adams, once again, confirm. Are you saying this law does not exist in Ekiti or in Lagos State?
There are two laws. There is another law called the Cybercrime Act. Now that one talks about making online statements that it's all about cyber stalking.
Okay.
And in fact, to give credence to the judiciary and the National Assembly, based on some interpretation of that law, the National Assembly has had to even amend the act in 2024 to take out the aspect that talks about defamation directly. But if you look at section 24 sub 1B of the current Cybercrimes Act as currently is today, it is under that law that this person has been arraigned at the Federal High Court. Now, talking about the one at the Magistrate Court, he knows the process. If I'm his counsel, I know what to do. And I can tell you that that objection has been raised as to the decision of the court, and just to allow the court to make a pronouncement on it. I don't subscribe to an open condemnation of our judicial system.
Okay.
If a judge has done something right, just last month, the NJC, they came out, they criticized and warned, even sanctioned certain judges for everything has a procedure. You have to follow the process. That's my opinion.
For the courts.
Yes, wait for the court to make a decision.
Even if we note that these laws are still a bit ambiguous.
And even if you are aggrieved, there is an appeal. And if you think the judge has misconducted him or herself, you know the right channel.
So let's talk about
the NJC are doing what they should do.
Let's talk about the collusion now with the Nigerian police force. Now, this was a case filed in Ekiti, and they had to come all the way to Lagos here to make an arrest. It was
Carted him away.
Yeah, and carted him away all the way to Ekiti by road. Now, is this legal?
Yes, all I can say is that the course of action arose where every single download is made. If you download this book or just download and read it in Ekiti State, if you access it in Abuja, all of those courts can have jurisdiction if there is a law that prescribes it. For instance, if there is a defamation law, or if that same act constitutes an offense under the Cyber Crimes Act that I have just mentioned. Now, the process of bringing somebody from one jurisdiction to another one is a police process. It's a process of arrest. How do you arrest somebody from outside your state and bring it to another state for prosecution? It has something to do with court. It's a process within the police.
Okay.
I know if a police wants to arrest me and they come from Abuja, they first have to report to headquarters in Lagos and to Nairobi police station to my residence to make their report there, and then it's a process. It's an internal process with the police.
So
I'm not that I'm defending.
No, of course.
Well, I just want everybody to have a clear idea. That's a process.
We need to
and we all talk about democracy, and at the heart of democracy is rule of law, and the rule of law is our laws as they are today.
So wait, did the police contravene any laws themselves? Noting that you've just said that if I'm going to be arrested from Ekiti State, for instance, this first of all has to be a report at the Lagos State Police Command by that whichever jurisdiction that police force is coming from before I'm arrested. In fact, they have to do it in tandem. Now, in this case, was that the case?
Nobody has said that was not done. And if that's the case, then you can take it up with them.
Right.
Yes.
Let me come to you, David, and talk about the denial of bail. I set the tone earlier, so we're just going to get into it. There's now been denial of bail. At first, they set the bail to 50 million naira and shorty in like sum. And now he's now been denied bail. It has now raised a lot, widely criticized by those on social media. You know, critics alike have all criticized that move. What's your take?
Ozempic. Ask your healthcare provider about Ozempic.
Ties into what I already said about how essentially the law in Nigeria now has become something that is completely subjective. There are no set fixed standards for anything, because to my understanding, and we have a lawyer in the studio, so I'm sure he can confirm this, to my understanding, whether you call it civil defamation or criminal defamation, whatever type of defamation case that it is, it's a bailable offense in Nigeria. So for for the states, to my understanding, the state magistrate, the magistrate in Ekiti had already granted bail, which was fair enough. And then you have this thing called lawfare, where you have this multiplicity of spurious cases being filed, basically to the effect of just tying the person up in the court system with the goal of just keeping him in prison. Because to my understanding, that is what is going on here. There isn't actually any desire for any justice or whatever. The entire point of this is to punish Dele Farotimi, keep him in prison over the Christmas and New Year period, and drain him financially. That's what the entire purpose of this is, right? This is not the first time that I've seen something like this in this line of work, right? He's probably the most high-profile person this has happened to, but this is something that has been happening with quite some regularity over the past decade. So this is just a continuation of what I was referencing earlier about this pattern of the Nigerian judiciary effectively having no real oversight, or the Nigerian judiciary, in fact, being sort of almost puppeted by the executive. It's whatever the executive wants that the judiciary just does, right? I don't think that if you were to find this exact kind of case, right? I'm not even going to use the example of some, US or some, jurisdiction that you might look up to. This exact kind of case in South Africa or in Kenya, this wouldn't have lasted 20 minutes in court. At the very least, for the purpose of a bail hearing, this wouldn't have lasted 20 minutes in court. In Nigeria, this has turned into a huge soap opera, a huge production. And then you're now hearing things like him being charged with treason, because apparently that's also the new thing, the new fad in town, because words don't mean anything in the Nigerian legal practice anymore. You can just throw things around and hope that something sticks eventually. Bear in mind that treason is a capital offense in Nigeria. It carries the death penalty. So it's someone genuinely saying that Dele Farotimi has done something that is deserving of execution, summary execution, death. Does that make any sense? But this is what is being argued in court, and the judges are entertaining it. So at this point, you can't even blame the lawyers or the people who are behind the lawyers for whatever shenanigans and games are involved. The Nigerian judiciary has a basic problem with respect for its own profession and basically, professional ethics and standards. That's the way I see it. Because
right, David,
now we're effectively in a situation where.
David,
sorry, go ahead.
as you were talking about, ethics and standards, it just brought to fore about what's currently going on with the FCT minister, some Wike, building quarters for members of the judiciary in Abuja, and what that says. Now, I know that the president for the NBA, Osigwe, if I'm correct, Afam Osigwe, has completely criticized that move by the FCT, saying that the government officials should not be doing that. That should not be their judiciary. That should not be their jurisdiction. They should not be doing that. Do you think that moves like that, where it comes to coveted concern and of the welfare of officers of the judiciary, is somewhat putting strings on the judicial system?
I think that is exactly what it is, and it's not the first time that, in fact, it's very unsubtle. Now, it's just a fact, I think, that is visible to the blind and audible to the deaf now, that the judiciary is effectively owned by the executive. So on paper, there are three independent arms of government: the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. What we saw during the last administration was the total capture of the legislative, which persists to date. And what we're seeing now is the total capture of the judiciary. So effectively, Nigeria is no longer a constitutional democracy as we understood it with three independent arms of government. It's now essentially a monarchy that holds elections every 4 years. And there's one man at the top and his tiny group of people that actually make all of the decisions. So, which would simply lend further credence to the entire premise of Dele Farotimi's book to begin with, because that's where all of this stems from, supposedly. The central argument.
The irony of it is that the title is now, I said the irony of it is now, the title is now seeming like a self-fulfilling prophecy, so to speak.
That's exactly the issue. The central argument that was made in the book. By the way, for those who haven't read the book, the book was not about Afe Babalola, right? The book was about a wider issue within the Nigerian judiciary. Yes, names were mentioned. Yes, specifics, specific situations were referenced, but it was not a book about Afe Babalola and what happened in 2012 or 2013. It was much bigger than that. The central premise of the book was that the Nigerian legal system has a foundational problem. The Nigerian legal system has been thoroughly compromised. So the title of the book was actually sort of clever play on words, because what he meant by criminal justice system, he wasn't referring to the criminal justice system as it exists. He was using the word criminal to describe the justice system. So Nigeria and its criminal justice system. So he was describing the Nigerian justice system as a criminal. That's what the book was trying to put across. And I think it's very instructive. It's very instructive that everything that he tried to explain, in so many words in the book, is exactly what is playing out now. I'm sure in his prison cell, he probably will be having a chuckle or two, the kind of person that he is, because everything that he tried to put out in his book, which, by the way, wasn't even selling that well. Most Nigerians weren't even aware of this book until a few days ago, but now everyone is getting a front row seat to a live action demonstration of everything.
Just a second, David. Just a second, David. First of all, thank you very much for bringing our notes to that clever use of double entendre there. I didn't even realize it myself. I'm only just realizing it now, and I've seen the book from before. Well, thank you very much for bringing that to know. But I want to come back to the studio here with Adams Wahab. Now, Adams, let's talk about something other people, everybody's been arguing about regarding the swiftness with which this case is being carried through. The arrest, court, boom, boom, boom. Then also the fact that he's been denied bail after it was offered from before. What do you make of this swiftness, the denial of bail?
Well, it's about, I think, the nominal complainant, but again, I won't dwell so much on that. It even allows the defendant, to have an early day in court, and as opposed to having a child hanging over his neck for a long time. When the process is swift, it means you are afforded the opportunity to defend yourself as quickly as possible.
So it's a good thing.
So it's a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
But then the denial of bail. Yes. Let me add an addendum to that. Let's note that there's also another high-profile case currently going on in Nigeria, and that is Yahaya Bello, who saunters into court wearing his white on white. The white lion is here. Finally, we find him after a couple of months. Now, he's been afforded this luxury when it comes to the processes going on in court. This is what people argue, not my words. However, when you put the two cases side by side, him not in handcuffs and Dele Farotimi led into court under heavy security and handcuffs, there's certain level of disparity, especially when compared to the crime, in quote. Now, he's also been given bail, and I'm talking about Yahaya Bello, who's been in court for alleged 150 million naira fraud, and Farotimi is just a case of defamation. So, and he's been denied bail. So what gives the disparity?
800 billion naira.
What,
800 billion naira fraud.
Yeah.
So I note that the first time Yahaya Bello, the bail was not taken, it was declared premature, and they had to refile. It's the same process, and each case is determined based on the peculiar facts. The facts of the case are different. I'm not privy to the grounds upon which the defendant, for instance, sought for bail. And the court has to exercise its own discretion, and discretion is exercised based on the peculiar facts and circumstances of this case. And there are no two cases that are exactly the same.
Could you do us a favor and explain exactly what the court meant by it being premature?
Yeah. Okay. So before it was formally arraigned, the bail application was filed. No, they
were working ahead of time.
Yes. So you wait for arraignment and then make your application for bail.
They were moving faster than their shadow.
Yeah, so it also depends on his own strategy for defending himself. I know you can have different lawyers, different strategies.
And what about the
procedure is essentially the same, and you can expect that the judiciary at the end of the day will do a fair job.
No,
let's give that opportunity, that fairness to the judiciary. Whoever the judge is under a constitution, and he knows that court is not the final court. The party still has the right to go on appeal, even on the issue of bail. If I'm denied bail, I know what to do. That's not the end of the story.
So, regarding the case of their appearance at court, and the format it took, the heavy presence of security with Farotimi, and the come to court with handcuffs.
It's a question of the law. The law is that if the police have reasons to believe them or to attempt to escape,
I'm telling you the law. I'm telling you what the law is.
No, of course. I'll let Judith, please.
But that's what the law says.
You know where I was going.
If the police believe or has reasonable basis to suspect that this person may want to escape or struggle or may not cooperate. That's the law. Now,
Judith,
what has made the
help me
police
out.
to make that decision? I'm not privy to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting, right, that the person who has been in hiding for months, I beg your pardon, that have disappeared into thin air and somewhat appeared out of nowhere.
And has the potential to disappear.
And that was the potentiality of that, of this person disappearing is not put in handcuffs, so it does not disappear and appear, right? But then you decide to handcuff someone else who did a press release or a press conference before his arrest, saying that there's a case that's already been filed against him in Ekiti. It's been trumped up. He doesn't know what's going on.
And
He's not running. He made that very clear.
On that,
and that's
response,
a gentleman in every sense of the word.
My response is simple. On that, even high, requires an explanation for the police. The police owes each and every one of us an explanation as to why these two cases are treated the way they have done based on the antecedent. So they have to explain to us why this man was treated this way and this man was not treated this way. But the law is what I stated it to.
Yeah.
What it is.
Let's bring Unde into this discussion. David, you're watching us from there. You're seeing how this is unfolding. What's your take on just the disparity of treatment, the format of it from Yahaya Bello and Dele Farotimi?
Turn thinking about your bathroom into loving it with Floor & Decor.
It simply shows who the Nigerian ruling establishment considers to be a threat and who is part of that ruling establishment. Because even before any case with Yahaya Bello has commenced, I think based on precedent, we already know how that case is likely to end. So, people like me aren't even, wasting our energy paying much attention to that, because we've seen this before with Hadi Sirika. After all the rigmarole and song and dance, it was then very quietly revealed that he had to go treat his sick mom in the US, and now he's out of the country, and that case is gone. We know that. So, it's not going to be any different with Yahaya Bello. But obviously with Dele Farotimi, whom the establishment considers to actually be a political threat, a threat to its power because of his work awakening the consciousness of people, which will eventually lead to political action, political revolution, which the ruling establishment does not want to hear, then obviously they're going to treat him like he's a petty criminal that has been caught stealing a goat in the market. This is what they do. Part of the tactic is not just trying to tie him up in prison and exhaust him financially and emotionally. It's also to humiliate him. This is the tactic that was learned actually from the colonial governments, right? So as I'm sure you're aware, when the colonial governments left, the sort of psychological and legal tricks that they used to deal with people who were trying to fight for African independence, those same tricks, they simply handed them over to the new set of people who became the independence era leadership in Nigeria and across Africa. And, those tricks are what we are still witnessing to date. So, putting Dele Farotimi in handcuffs, for example, logically speaking, there's no reason for you to do that. It's a defamation case. What is he going to do? Is he going to, to drag an officer's gun and make a bolt for it? It's 50-something-year-old man with a public profile that he has? Of course not. But they know why they're doing that. The entire point of that is make sure you parade him in front of all the TV cameras, make sure that those images are circulated on every media platform in the country so that his children and his family will see it and they will be traumatized. And that in itself can start to, cause him to break psychologically. It's a complex, it's psychological torture. That's what all of this is about.
It's psychological torture, but also activists have often argued that cases like this are also designed to intimidate and, suppress and silence dissent. Do you believe that Dele Farotimi's case fits this narrative as well?
I don't need to believe it because it's playing out directly in front of our faces. It's very obvious that the establishment has been looking for a scapegoat with a suitably big profile to make an example of, because maybe the feeling is that Nigerians are getting too comfortable speaking out and speaking very plainly. People like me, we have been in trouble forever for doing that. And if they were ever able to get hold of people like me, then what they're doing to deliver to me will be a walk in the park. I know that. So maybe now that they've found something, however tenuous it is to use to get hold of him, the point of this now is to show that nobody's above this kind of treatment. So even if you have Dele Farutimi's kind of profile, Dele Farutimi is not a poor man, right? And he's a very distinguished professional in the legal space, in the civil society space, in every space that he has been involved in. He's a highly distinguished person with an international profile. This is someone who travels around the world. He's known to foreign governments. This is not just some random, Twitter activist kind of person. This is a far more consequential person than most people. And they're able to treat him like a common criminal. This is a statement to the Nigerian civil space, be it the media space, the civil society space, however compromised it already is, the activism space, even the social media space. This is a statement that you might think that on some level you have escaped our control because you can speak on platforms that we don't control. You can sell your book on Amazon. So we can't stop a bookshop from selling it. You can post your thoughts on Twitter and we can't stop people from reading it. The most we can do is ban it and then you use a VPN and still read it anyway. So you might think you have transcended the level of control that we once had, but even at that level, we can still get to you. So which, for example, is why I would imagine that this, however unenforceable it is, they also managed to obtain an injunction telling Amazon to stop selling the book. We all know that's not going to be enforced, but the point of it, the point of putting that out there is to let everyone in the Nigerian space know that as long as whatever you're doing concerns the Nigerian space, you are not beyond the arms of the Nigerian government. So if whatever you are saying is not with the program, if you don't approve of it, we are coming for you. We're going to get you. Like we've got Dele Farutimi now, and he's rotting in a jail in Ekiti State. So don't think you're above this. If it can happen to him, it can happen to you too.
Okay. This ties into human rights, right? This we're talking about, I think about a few days ago, it's been the celebration of human rights and just really a conversation about, ensuring that governments and whether it's agencies like the police or, the judiciary make sure that that the human rights of the average Nigerian, the common man is met, right? On your take, I'm going to start with you, Adam, and then I'll come to you, David. Have the police and the judiciary met Dele Farutimi's rights as a human being? Have they, in somewhat, done justice by him?
Okay, thank you once again. As far as the state of the law is concerned, there is a Cyber Crimes Act, amended 2024, that prescribe, online statements that tends to bully or intimidate or even threaten to damage the reputation of a person. So that law is a law validly made by the National Assembly. So I think the important thing is for every citizen to be aware of the limits of the rights provided by the Constitution. But the question is, should those laws still be there in the 21st century Nigerian democratic society? And that's the question. As far as the civil ones are, civil liability on defamation is concerned, that's fine because it's between two equal parties. But as far as the criminal element of it is concerned, I think at this age, in this country, we should do away with all laws that tend to criminalize freedom of speech.
So like she said, do you think his rights has been infringed?
The law as at today, his right has not been infringed. If there is a reasonable suspicion of commission of a crime, they have set up the mechanism to prosecute that commission of that offense according to the law. But I'm even rising above the law and saying, should we still maintain criminal laws criminalizing defamation in our laws?
So what reforms?
And that's what I'm driving at. So those Lagos State has taken it out, two other states. Let's have all other states in the country. Let them abolish every law so that you can give priority to freedom of speech as an essential element of democracy.
Nice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Nicely said. David, your thoughts on this as well? Infringement of human rights for Dele Farutimi. Do you see the police and the judiciary have done this in any way, shape, or form in the entirety of this process?
$0 Grubhub delivery fees with Prime. Eligible orders only. Terms and additional fees apply.
I think you know what my answer is going to be, and surprising that both guests will have two very different answers, because I am me speaking from this perspective, and he's a senior partner at a law firm whose office is in Banana Island. So we know who is part of the establishment and who is
David,
not.
you cannot
So from
say
my
that.
perspective, from my perspective, I think it's clear what has happened here. I think there was a CCTV video that went around showing the moment when these police officers dressed like G.I. Joe, armed to the teeth, broke into his law offices and basically abducted him, because that was an abduction, not an arrest. Rendered him across state lines, right, all the way to Ekiti State, under a law that potentially doesn't exist in Ekiti, or it may or may not exist, depending on which side of the bed the judge decided to wake up on. So there's no way you see all of that and say, oh, well, he was treated fairly. This is perfectly fine. There was no violation of human rights concern here, But again, I'm speaking from the point of view of someone who has a certain perspective on things. There are other people who speak from other points of view. So I guess we will never agree on that. That's not surprising.
But I mean, he made a valid point about, decriminalizing libel and defamation, that it shouldn't be criminal in any sense of the word, and that should be decriminalized so that energies and focuses to other matters, and defamation can now be a civil matter as opposed to it being in that sense. Don't you think so?
Again, the correct person to ask this to is the judge, because again, going back to what I've been saying right from the start, going back to the newsletter I even put out, my major problem in all of this is not even whether Dele Farotimi supposedly defamed somebody or not. My major problem is under what framework is he actually even being tried? They're just making it up as they go along. As I mentioned in the newsletter that I put out, the initial claim that was filed by Afed SAN got the actual material facts of the so-called claim were wrong. It was obviously put together in such a hurry and such a rush that basic establishing claims were wrong. So, for example, the claim was that Dele Farotimi made a defamatory accusation on a Channels TV broadcast with Seun Okinbaloye. Dele Farotimi has not been on Channels TV for the entire second half of 2024. Right? It was actually a Seun Okinbaloye private podcast, a mic on podcast. So, for an SAN who is supposedly filing a defamation claim to not be able to verify such an obvious discrepancy shows that there's something else going on here. It wasn't really about whether somebody felt he has been defamed or not, and then put together a professional lawsuit to take this issue to court. Somebody somewhere, a bigger masquerade somewhere, has identified Dele Farotimi as a threat to be, and Afed Babalola SAN, at his 95 years of age, decided to allow himself to be used as the tool to actualize this agenda for reasons best known to him. So, however this is going to work out for everyone, good luck to all those concerned.
Well, David, I must say thank you so much for taking out the time to join us today for this discussion. Also, many thanks to you, Adam Wahab, as well. It's been kind of very insightful, varying views and insight and perspective, which is what we want to see. The most important thing is we see the A, but only from different angles, and we have to see from all angles.
Judith, just a second. Yeah. While we still have David here, I wanted to ask him regarding the case of arrested nurse. I'm looking
Nurse
for her name.
Abiodun Thomas.
Abiodun Thomas, yes. Now, you have heard of the story. I'm wondering what you think regarding her situation, because it's rather similar when you look at it in the grander scheme of things regarding dissent and people being perhaps maybe fingered out for their speaking up against a certain system. What do you think on that one, David?
Amazon hates this, but there's nothing they can do to stop it. There's a new intelligent drone shaking up the photography industry, and it's so advanced.
I think from a legal point of view, I'm not a lawyer, but I think from a legal point of view, the use of that thing that they call the Cybercrime Act, I think there needs to be some sort of guardrails that are put in place now, because it seems as if anything at all that you do in Nigeria now can be criminalized under this supposed Cybercrimes Act. Anything at all. If you post a tweet saying that you don't like the color blue, somebody can say that that is defamatory to the color blue, and you have committed internet stalking against the color blue, and therefore you should be shipped to Abuja and put in a gulag in Maitama. It seems as if that act, that bill is so vaguely worded, it's so ambiguously worded that it can be interpreted in any way that the authorities see fit. And the authorities in question here are not the judiciary, it's the police. So effectively, this Cybercrimes Act has given the Nigeria Police Force the ability to effectively be the judge, jury, and executioner, which I think it's fair to say is completely contradictory to the spirit of most constitutions in the world, definitely the 99 constitution that we supposedly adhere to in Nigeria. So I think this arrest that you're referring to is yet another manifestation of this abuse of the Cybercrimes Act by the police and by the intelligence and security authorities. And I think legally speaking, maybe legislatively speaking, something needs to be done to ensure that either the powers in this act are very, very clearly defined in a very granular manner, or this act is modified in such a way as to remove most of this enforcement teeth, because clearly it's being misused.
David.
And one day, even those of you in the studio might find yourselves on the wrong side of this act too, because everything is covered by this act.
Well, we expect that as journalists, quite frankly. We won't be surprised. But thank you very much, David. Thank you very much, Adams, for coming in and giving us your both your expert opinions on the Farotimi.
Greetings, my people. Oh, good morning. Happy Saturday, as they say in Naija. Happy Saturday to everyone. I couldn't take my eyes off the lawyer in the studio, and I could not ignore what Delifaro to me said about him. He's in Banana Island. His office is in Banana. He even looks fresh. That comment had me cracking up. Nigeria, anyway, I'm very glad that David laid it out for them. So if they like, they should take it. If they like, they should not take it. Eh? The laws are made ambiguous for a reason in Nigeria, so that those people who feel slighted, your so-called elite. Me, I don't have elite. Me, I don't know who you people are referring to elite here. But let me use Niger lingo. Those elites can just decide, you know what, they woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. Somebody stepped on their shoes. They don't even do rich like that. Maybe you pour water for their gates. They will just go send the police to go and pick the person up and lock them up. You guys heard what David said about the plans that Dele Farotimi had. Right? I remember that video of his where he said people should not participate, sit it out on the 3rd. They picked him up on the 2nd. You don't find that suspicious? Eh? In the voice of that Umar, that African-American man, that Pan-African man. You don't find that suspicious that they just picked him up on the 2nd? You don't find it suspicious? For me, I think it's T-Pain using this guy to silence him. We all know how this game is done. We're all paying attention in Nigeria. We see what's happening, right? So it's possible that the gargoyle, the ancients amongst us in Nigeria are the ones behind silencing Dele Farotimi, because he had a plan. And you hear David saying that they had a plan to push, all of us need to push for judicial, whatever, rearrangement. Here's the thing: judicial restructuring. These people are they are comfortable in their evil, and they want it to continue. Now, the thing is, are Nigerians going to fold their hands and allow it happen? If you guys keep singing election 2027, if the groundwork is not done now, forget an election in 2027. Now, I've been getting information that the North is very displeased with T-Pain, and they are moving heavily against him. You and I know the North is more organized than the South. The South easily distracted. By the time they throw BBN Nigeria here, throw one artist there, throw one stupid, somebody does something dumb on the internet here, the entire South will just get carried away. That's what they'll be talking about. They'll be doing 48-hour service on top of the issues instead of focusing on what really matters. Okay? The North is pushing against T-Pain. 2027 is going to be cray. There's a lot going on behind the scene, right? So I would say, instead of the South, I don't know who's going to organize because they are so I don't want to say we're so divided again. I want to be using my own mouth to be calling for the unity of the South. Doesn't matter where you come from, because here's what happens. Whether we like it or not, we need each other. We might not like each other, we might troll each other, we might insult each other, we might insult each other's whatever, but the truth remains that we need each other. In order to pull this, in order to be able to ground these people, we all need to come together and work together. Yeah? That's what I am saying. No. Me, I don't talk now. Who carry fire for head? If I don't see who carry fire for head 2027, or more, count me out. But I will make my platform available to those that will come and be debating about their candidate. Me, it is the winner me I'm going to support. You see that emotional roller coaster of last year? It's not going to happen to me again. Nah, never. Okay? Now I'm learning to separate my emotions in any election, to be honest. Any election, even though not the one in here, I learned that. I actually learned that in the last election. I removed my emotions because I was like, nah, I'm not going to. I looked at things the way I wanted to look at them, and I saw what I wanted, and I moved with it. It's that simple. The same thing with Nigeria. In removing emotions is so important, because when you look at Nigeria, the more you look, the less you see. While the so-called elites in Nigeria, the bottom upside down elites in Nigeria that don't care about anybody. It's other elites in other parts of the world that are coming together and thinking how to move society forward. They are busy doing the dumbest things of all. You guys don't have elites in Nigeria. Dare I say, you guys don't have any educated class. You have very few, and they are sprinkled. Okay? All those ones that are going to collect PhD here, masters here, do like 5 masters, 7 masters, do 20-something PhD, add fellowship journal. They are the dumbest of all. We are seeing them play out. They are the dumbest in Nigeria. The education that Nigeria has provided its people is crap. What is the education without you having the freedom to think for yourself and decide between what's wrong and what's evil? That's not freedom. Okay, so I have a couple more videos to play for us to see, and then we'll continue to have this conversation, because it's about to get real low. Everybody, one thing I have to admit I'm happy for, right, is that a lot more Nigerians are speaking up, which I am glad to see. To be honest with you, I'm very happy to see that a lot more Nigerians are coming up and are speaking truth to power. We need it. Okay? We need it. So let's continue.
Well, we're now being joined by Professor Yemi Akinshete George, who's a senior advocate of Nigeria, an advocate, professor of public law, and president, Center for Social Legal Studies, as we continue to interrogate all possible angles to this intriguing judicial back and forth unfolding before our very eyes on the case of alleged defamation between 2 top Nigerian lawyers, Dele Farotimi and Chief Afe Babalola, SAN. Good morning, Prof. Good to have you join us on the morning show today, this beautiful Saturday morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Professor Akinshete George. All right.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sure that you have been following this intriguing, interesting case between 2 lawyers who happen to be 2 Ekiti illustrious sons, Chief Afe Babalola SAN and Dele Farotimi. I'm sure that you are aware of the fact for about 2 weeks or thereabouts, we've been on it since the time that Farotimi alleged that there was a conspiracy cooking somewhere about what will happen to him because of the book that he has written, up to the point when he was picked up, taken to Ekiti, and then appearing in court, granted bail, but back in custody. I'm sure you followed all of that. But where we are now is the fact that the law firm of Chief Afe Babalola SAN, has now written a petition to the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee, essentially to seek to have him derobed and to bar him from practice, citing instances, in a very heavy document of a petition of what they claim that Mr. Farotimi has done badly in terms of ethics of the profession. What are your thoughts so far on this matter? Some people think that it's a case of David and Goliath, but some other people think that you cannot slap a man and ask him not to weep or to dictate to him how to weep. Where do you think this will lead us into now that we have a court case going on and then we have a petition with the disciplinary committee? Where do you think that we are headed on this matter, Prof?
Oh, thank you very much for this opportunity to wade into this discourse. First and foremost, let me correct the mistake in the pronunciation of my name. I'm not Akinshete George, I'm Akinsheye George. So my name is Yemi Akinsheye George.
Oh, apologies for that, sir. Thank you.
Which was pronounced as Akinshete George.
Okay, Akinsheye.
You're welcome.
You. Thank you so much, sir.
Now, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. And now to the subject of discourse. It is very unfortunate that, a petition or a book, has been written, without, ensuring that the book is properly situated within the permissible parameters of the law. It is even demeaning, of the entire legal profession that a member of the profession would, write things that are not legally sound, factually correct, and unfortunately, in the age of social media, this book is now being paraded as something that people should read. A book that is full of lies and falsehood. I have read the book, and I find it demeaning that a member of the noble profession, will put this kind of thing together. It's a different thing if you're just an activist, you don't know the law. But a man who knows the law should endeavor, to observe minimum decorum when you are writing, to ensure that you keep within the framework of the law, not identifying, not targeting or attacking, personalities who have built their reputation over the years. It is not only about Chief Afe Babalola who has been attacked. The entire profession has been attacked. The justices of the Supreme Court have been attacked. And sadly enough, reading this book, even an elementary, a Law 101 student will know that many of the things that are written in this book are not factual. They're not legally founded. So, it's not about David and Goliath fighting. No, this is an attempt to rubbish the legal profession, a noble profession. You don't write things when you have when for example, I'm aware that Chief Afe Babalola was not involved in the conduct of all this particular case that this young man wrote about. Of course, his law office handled cases and so on. How many of the cases handled by his law office will he be personally involved in? I'm aware that it was only when this case had been decided by the Supreme Court that the eminent chief, the foremost legal luminary, got involved in ensuring that the judgment of the Supreme Court is properly enforced. So I think it's not about Chief Afe Babalola. We must be careful about how we frame our questions. It's about whether an individual can just wake up and just write anything, and then sell it because of the freedom of the so-called freedom of expression, and especially in this day of social media, when anything goes, nobody edits anything. Somebody writes something and just places it on the media, and everybody starts talking about it. So I think we need to frame and understand the issues we are dealing with here.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Professor Yemi. I just oblige you to please, if you could just help us put your phone on silent. I know you're a very busy person. Probably people are trying to reach you so that it doesn't interrupt the interview going forward. But let's talk about the petition that seeks to remove Farotimi's removal from the role of legal practitioners. What is your assessment, of this, let's say, of this petition? Could it serve as an impartial arbiter, given the high-profile nature of the parties involved? And when we look at the sanctions and precedents in this kind of situations, if Farotimi is indeed derobed, what precedents would this set for the legal professionals in Nigeria? Are there comparable cases that would I say have influenced how the LPDC would handle such petitions?
Hey bro, did you know that this M1911 is totally legal for everyone to own? No permit.
You have rightly observed that a petition is before the LPDC. The LPDC is a body of seasoned lawyers and judges. So it's an independent body of the legal profession, a committee of the body of benchers. So the LPDC is a court. And once a matter is pending before the LPDC, I'm not going to come here and comment on it or predict what's going to be the outcome of their judgment. So I leave that to the LPDC. But what I know as a matter of general principle is that all members of the legal profession are subject to the regulation of the profession, regulation by professional bodies. And one of the bodies that has been established to regulate the conduct of lawyers is the Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee. So I'm not going to forecast what the LPDC will decide, but I know that the LPDC is an independent body made of seasoned, well-educated, well-informed, Nigerians and members of the profession, lawyers and judges. So I think we cannot preempt what the LPDC will decide. But what I know as a matter of general principle is that when any member of the profession is found to have committed infractions of professional ethics, the appropriate sanctions will be meted out. And where the committee thinks that nothing wrong has been done, I know the committee will also appropriately decide. So I think we should leave that, leave it at that for now.
Yes. All right, Professor, I can share, George. I like that submission. But then a lot of people might think that why didn't Chief Afe Babalola consider first going to LPDC to report this matter rather than go the route of criminal defamation that we are now seeing? Because it looks to a lot of people as if there's an attempt to stifle free speech. There's an attempt to deal with Dele Farotimi using LPDC on the one hand, and then the law court, criminal defamation on the other hand. Will it have made sense to take it one step after the other, first approach LPDC and see if it's something that they can intervene on, and then see how that pans out before taking the case to court? Is that something that you think that Chief Afe Babalola could have considered?
Sometimes when you mention the name Chief Afe Babalola, don't forget that Chief Afe Babalola is not just an individual. Chief Babalola has become an institution in this country, whether we like it or not. I know that the office of Chief Babalola has offices in different parts of Nigeria. In fact, they also have offices outside Nigeria. And I'm aware that the Ibadan office, which is the headquarters of the office, has instituted an action. I'm aware that the Abuja office, headed by, a seasoned lawyer, has also instituted an action. The Lagos office has instituted an action. The various offices are working. That is why I expected that, the young man, in writing his book, would conduct adequate research to know who is doing what, not just targeting this gentleman par excellence, the foremost legal luminary, Ariafe Babalola. He's an institution. You cannot just get up from nowhere and attempt to bring down such a renowned statesman, elder statesman, who has made so tremendous contributions to the development of the legal profession. So when you talked about some people filing, these different actions have been instituted by different individuals. Although the office is one, but there are different people running these different offices. If in their opinion, they want the input of the courts, they have gone to court in Ekiti, some have gone to LPDC, some have filed some civil actions. I think, the legal system, I do not see any conflict. The legal system knows how to resolve all of these issues without one being contradictory of the other. Unlike in the case of judges, where judges are involved, you have to go to the NJC and get the matter resolved by the NJC before a court of law can intervene. But when it comes to legal practitioners, there's no priority in terms of where you go first. You can go to court where there's a criminal allegation, which is what has been done, to deal with the issue of criminal defamation, which is going on in Ekiti. Then some other people have filed an action before the Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee. So these different actions can exist concurrently. There is no rule of priority as to where you start first. What's important is that where any infraction has been found, where there has been a violation of the law, any of these processes, can be legally applied to ensure that, everybody keeps within the framework of the law.
Okay, so when we look at the book in itself, that has, after this arrest, reportedly reached bestseller status, largely because of the controversy surrounding its publication, how do you then interpret the paradox that efforts to, stop the book or, suppress it from going out there have only amplified public interest and made it a rallying point for discourse on justice in Nigeria? There are critics who have argued that the use of legal action, from civil action, of course, to now criminal actions, police intervention to stop the sale of the book undermines the freedom of expression. What does this whole saga reveal about the state of free speech in Nigeria?
Thank you so much. My freedom to stretch my hand as I like ends where the nose of my neighbor begins. In other words, I have freedom of expression. I cannot use that freedom of expression to demean other people, to damage the reputation of other people. That's not allowed by the law. Granted that, this book is now widely circulated and all of that, but that does not detract from the fact that where an illegality has been committed, where defamation has been committed, the law should be allowed to take its course. And here at this point, I cherish the attempts by very senior, well-meaning statesmen, like Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, the former head of state, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and other eminent Nigerians who have attempted, to wade in so as to find a way of resolving this matter. But as long as the young man has not seen anything he has done wrong, I think, the law may have to take its course. The law may have to take its course. You agree with me that bad news spreads faster people have a tendency to want to listen to bad news. I have looked at this book. I wonder why so many people are reading it. But probably because of the notoriety that has accompanied the book, by reason of, and this may be the motive of a young man. This may be the motive. You take on a big man so that you become a celebrity yourself. You take on a celebrity, you attack a man of influence so that people can now start discussing you, in reference to that man. That may be the motive. So all of this will be tested. All of this will be tested, and for example, the title of the book is misleading. The title of the book is wrong. When you talk about criminal justice system, we are talking about the system of administration of justice. But for you to label the entire justice system of a country as criminal, I think that's unbecoming. This is my personal opinion. When I read the book, I thought it was going to be discussing things like how court procedures, how matters are done in the courts. So you create a wrong impression. That title is wrong. That book is not fit for readership because it portrays the entire legal profession in a very bad light. For a lawyer, I mean, if a non-lawyer writes that kind of a book, I can understand. But for somebody who has been trained, who has benefited from the profession, who has enjoyed the profession, who intends to continue to enjoy the protection of the profession, to write so carelessly about the legal system, I think it's, to my mind, it's nothing to write home about. It's most unfortunate. It's most unfortunate, and the fact that it's now acquired a celebrity status, it's not a surprise to me because people love to hear negative things. Because most people prefer to hear negative things. Bad news spread faster. When you talk about good news, only a few people will be interested. And that's the unfortunate reality of our existence.
Yeah. All right, Prof. Thanks. You said that maybe part of the inspiration or the reason for writing the book for Mr. Farotimi is to attain some level of popularity and celebrity status. But a lot of people will argue that this is already a popular man. This is already somebody whose views are known, somebody who has always complained about misgivings, shall we say, about the administration of justice in Nigeria. People say, well, maybe it has to do with the activist part of him, given the fact that, many years ago, he was the president of the student union at LASU, and a number of things happened, during that time. Of course, he became a lawyer. He's become an activist. He speaks through to power. And so when you say that maybe the motivation is for a David to bring down a Goliath, will you think that is correct, or was Mr. Farotimi actually truly motivated to expose certain anomalies, certain alleged criminalities in the administration of justice in Nigeria? Will you close your eyes to some of the things that he mentioned about the Supreme Court, for example, about courts in general, and about bribery allegations, all over the place, without necessarily narrowing it down to Chief Babalola and a few other persons that he has mentioned, given the fact that the case is in court?
United States Postal Service.
Activism is not a license for irresponsibility. Activism is not a license for recklessness. Activism does not give you a license to libel people and destroy reputations that have been built over decades. That's not what is called activism. That's irresponsibility. Granted, the system of administration of justice in Nigeria is not perfect. And tell me, where is the perfect system all over the world? There is none. As long as human beings are involved, there must be imperfections. For you to now dwell excessively as if nothing good happens, everything is bad, everything is evil, because you want to sell a book, because you want to boost your social media following, I think it's mostly irresponsible. mostly irresponsible. So it's not about saying that there's nothing wrong. We know that there are challenges in the profession. We are dealing with the challenges in our profession, just as there are challenges in every sector of the country. There are challenges in every sector. And not only in Nigeria, the human system is always a moving target. Human development is also always a moving target. In fact, somebody said the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. We know there are challenges and we're tackling these challenges. New laws are being made, laws have been amended, but for someone to wake up and say that everything is bad, everything is evil, nothing works, and you're expecting that same system to protect you, you're expecting that system to protect your rights. I think it's preposterous. I think it's unfortunate. I think it's unbecoming, to say the least. I think it's unbecoming, to say the least. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm not talking about individuals. You don't pull down a structure. You don't pull down an entire system because you have an axe to grind, maybe with an individual. And here is an individual who was not even involved in this case, from High Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. It was only after the judgment of the Supreme Court had been delivered that the eminent chief was requested to write a letter with a view to enhancing the enforcement of the judgment. So it is unfortunate that we are not able to distinguish between an individual and an institution. So I think the argument regarding this young man's write-up, it's not about David and Goliath fighting. That's not the issue. The issue is, can anybody just wake up any day and write any rubbish and expect everybody, to be clapping for him? Because we're in an age of social media, people are free to say anything they want to say. There are no editors. Nobody edits anything that goes on social media. This book is self-published. I don't think anybody edited it. It's full of errors, full of factual errors, blunders, all kinds of blunders. And yet you are now celebrating it because people have developed itchy ears, looking for some scandal, looking for this tendency of bringing down syndrome. People who have built their reputation, justices of the court who have built their reputation over the years, and now somebody just wakes up somewhere and says they are all bad, everybody is bad. No, that is not good for our society. It's not good for our country. And that's not what activism is all about. There are activists. We know people like Chief Gani Fahimi. It didn't bring down the institution. We know people like Mr. Femi Falana. It doesn't bring down the institution. How come this young man is the only one who can see everything that is wrong with the system? We have, so we have challenges in our profession, and we are dealing with it. The leadership of the profession is dealing with it. The Chief Justice of Nigeria is dealing with all the challenges. Recently, some judges were retired. They were also asked to pay back monies that they wrongly they collected from the system. In contravention of administrative procedures. Some were retired, some were kept under monitoring. So the profession is actively responding to the challenges that it's facing. But for someone somewhere to just get up and say everything is bad, the justices are corrupt, you just paint everybody in a bad. I think it's unfortunate, and I think right-meaning Nigerians, right-thinking people should look at it. It's not a question about David and Goliath. It's a question of whether we can. It's a question of how do we exercise our liberties.
Okay, Professor, if
to
I
make
can
sure that
come
we
in
do not
here.
destroy the system,
Yes.
so that it doesn't come crumbling over all of us. Yes.
Yes, so it doesn't come crumbling down. We don't have much time left with you, but I wanted to touch on this because this case has highlighted ambiguities in Nigeria's legal system, especially concerning defamation laws. For example, it's been stated that criminal defamation in itself is not recognized in the Ekiti State Criminal Law of 2021, yet Mr. Farotimi faces charges under this category. Do you think that there is a need for legislative intervention to clearly delineate the boundaries between civil and law in cases like this, and how might such reforms be approached?
Like I told you, legal development, legal evolution is a moving target. Legal development, legal reform is always work in progress, But there's a matter now that is sub judice. It will bring out the parameters of criminal defamation. But I'm aware that under Ekiti state law, where this young man has been charged, there's a law of criminal defamation. That may not be the law in other parts of the country, given the fact that we are in a federal system, and the details of the criminal laws of the different states are not exactly the same. That does not mean that there's ambiguity. We do not have to have uniform criminal laws in all the states. Each state decides what they want to have in their criminal law. The only time where you can talk about uniformity is when there is a federal legislation which covers the field on the subject. And on the subject matter of defamation, it's not a matter of federal law. It's a matter of state law. So the law may differ from state to state. So it's not about ambiguity in the laws.
All right, Prof. Just in a few seconds before we let you go, do you think that there is the possibility of closure to this matter outside of the court, given the fact that you acknowledge that people like Mr. Peter Obi intervene at some point? Do you think that this can still be resolved one way or the other? And then the flip side of it is that if the cases proceed as they are, and then there are judgments against Mr. Farutimi, either in the court or from the LPDC, don't you think that people will say, oh, we said so, Mr. Farutimi said so, that it's a corrupt system, they were going to deal with him anyway? Don't you think that is what will end up to if it turns out that Chief Afe Babalola and his people have the upper hand at the end of the day?
The validity of a legal system does not depend on the opinion of the public. Unfortunately, we do not use the public opinion to decide how we're going to apply the law. The public will always have their comment, and you can, the practice when the case favors some members of the public, they say the courts are good. When a judgment doesn't favor them, they say the courts are bad. That is the attitude of the public, usually. But what I would say is that I believe that Afe Babalola is the leader of the body of arbitrators in Nigeria. Is the chief leader of the body of Nigerian body of arbitrators. So I understand that there are efforts to resolve this matter out of court. That will be commendable. But the young man ought to acknowledge that he's wrong. He ought to acknowledge where he's factually misleading, where he has given wrong information, he has misled the public, he has created a lot of confusion. He needs to acknowledge all of this. But where he thinks that he's right, he's not ready to acknowledge, and he has achieved his objective of gaining a lot of followership from social media, then something has to give. The law has to take its course. And we cannot predict the outcome of judicial decisions because the judges have to apply the law, and these matters can go as far as the Supreme Court for a determination. Unfortunately, this young man has to seek the protection of the same court he has labeled as evil. That is the problem. So what I would counsel is, in the interest of the profession, in the interest of all that is good, in the interest of the young man is growing up, but he needs to own up. He needs to admit that I made a mistake. Part of integrity, he must have the integrity to admit that I made a mistake. I presented wrong information. I attacked people I ought not to attack. For example, many of the allegations he made, how is he going to prove them? So I think that I believe that this matter can be resolved. We appeal to the eminent chief, Afe Babalola, who is our leader in the profession, foremost legal luminary in the country, to please, I know he loves people. He's a man who loves people. Even he has adopted so many people, are not even his children. So we plead with him to please, regard this as excesses of a young man, and then hoping that the young man has learned his lesson as well. Yes.
All right, Professor Yemi Akinshe George, thank you so much. SAN, thank you so much for the insight that you have brought into this very intriguing development. Let's hope, as you have said, that will be a closure at some point, hopefully outside of the courts. Thank you indeed.
Let me first laugh. This man, they just pay him, they just give him fresh notes. They saw you go there. Why is it? I have to ask this question. So please, if you know the answer, put it in the comment section. Why we say now the professors, the PhD holders, the ones they get masters upon masters, now they don't pass for Nigeria. Why we say now they be the easy target to be used? Now they used to bring down this country based on last election. Eh? And they look the man, I know they see eyebrows. See this, they say, look at him speaking English. Now they sabi speak English fast. They know how to dot the T's, cross the I's, put the comma, put colon, put full stop. Yet they don't know how to build safe, secure societies. They don't. Now today, look at him describing the ancestor, describing him as a fine gentleman. 95-year-old man. That we now know all the secret is out. That the money he made is not pure. He's part of our problem. So you can imagine Nigeria has been in problem since. Imagine this man started practicing maybe in his 20s. So he in 70 years, he gather and take and bring down the judiciary. Look at them talking about disbarring somebody. Are they not informed? Dele walked away from practice. Who would, I don't know how lawyers do it in Nigeria. Who would see that kind of profession and want to be practicing? God forbid. You are disbarring a man that is telling the truth. This is how messed up Nigeria is. You people are afraid of truth. So you would rather say, oh, more. Thank God, though, we are not in the 40s, 50s anymore, where there was no video, no social media. Anyhow, una do one, we dey here for now. We're going to follow na bumper to bumper. What? Look at this man. No be professor, they call him. You know they pass. Now, so them professor, lawyer, coming on national TV to gaslight people. Should they say that 89 gets the most professors? Oh my show. Oh, what a shame. What a shame, man. Let's continue. Let's go to FCT. Nigeria.
Hey guys, did you know
Nigeria we hate?
Find affordable health insurance plans. Lowest prices.
Following Chief Rita Lori Ogbebo's interview on The Morning Show, where she stated that the actions of Nyesom Wike, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, should be investigated over his involvement in a controversial land dispute in Abuja. Our comments, which came in the wake of her family's ongoing battle with the Federal Capital Development Authority, SDDA, which has now threatened to demolish a 42-year-old estate in Abuja, originally developed by our late husband, Colonel Paul Ogbebo.
My husband's legacy, his company should be left. We are prepared to pay this money. Whatever it is they say we should pay. The children will put themselves together and pay right now as I'm talking, because it will be a waste of Paul Ogbebo's life. He didn't bring any money home. The only thing he has is this camp that bears his name. He has no money. And the other thing that hurts me is that what Wike sent this money, after withdrawing, he sent it to his own company that is manned and run by Chindai.
Do you have proof for that?
I got this.
Do you have proof for that, ma?
Yes, please.
Where's your proof?
I have the proof. I am a journalist.
Where's your
proof? I tell you,
where's your
if
proof,
you find me one thing, put me into prison.
No, I want your proof.
Put me into prison.
No, I just want your
what I'm
proof
saying.
that Wike now channeled it to his own company. I just want your proof. Where's your proof?
As a true Nigerian who has labored for this country and given my contribution, I swear with my blood. I want the courts to look at this matter the way they should, legally, truly, panachetly. They should look at it. Because I have Paul Ogbebo has over 10 men. 10 men who do we tell them? They saw their father. Their father gave them good example. What are they going to now say? They have a country. They have Nigeria. They can run to.
Wow.
He has grandchildren.
Madam.
What do we tell them?
Madam, we
Please.
understand your concern, and I'm sure that many women in Nigeria and elsewhere in your condition will identify with you, fighting for your husband's legacy and also for your children's inheritance, and then standing up to say that Nigeria should treat people fairly, whether in the Federal Capital Territory or elsewhere. However, according to the minister's aide, the revocation notice and process were carried out legitimately in accordance with the law. Joining us now on this show.
I have to make a quick comment here. Look at this demolition notice. Now, Biro, now they say right now. This is how low Nigeria is. Look at now, Biro, now they say right now. Anybody can just take paper and write anything. You've already allocated the land to somebody else. A week ahead, you now send demolition notice with Nigeria. May this woman fight, oh. May this woman fight. I'm glad that they give her the opportunity to come and air her opinion, because air her thoughts on it. Because this is madness. This is madness. You buy land, and you people are saying investors should come home, people should come home. You go and buy land after sweating, hard-earned money. You will now go buy land. You will now come back tomorrow and tell you 1 week from somewhere came and demolished it. Do you know how devastating that is? And it's not like they pay them compensation. No, they will just demolish it. No. Things need to change in Nigeria, Sha. I don't know how, but we continue.
For a right of reply to Rita Lori Ogbebo's accusations against the minister, Nyesom Wike, and the FCT administration, his senior special assistant on public communications to the FCT minister, Olalere Olayinka. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us on the Morning Show.
Well, good morning, my very senior colleagues, sir.
Good morning.
I greet you so specially. And good morning to my junior colleague, Hussein Rufai, and the other person.
Well, very quickly, in the Senate yesterday, there was also an issue about this, and the Senate has now issued a directive to say that the Federal Capital Territory Administration should halt further demolitions in the FCT, following a motion brought to the attention of that esteemed body by Senator Ireti Kingibe. And the main allegation is that the FCTA has gone beyond its mandate and even its own declared objectives of focusing on illegal structures. And, in that regard, they talked about this estate, life camp, established by Colonel Paul Ogbebo. And you have listened to the, objections raised by Chief Rita Lori Ogbebo, the widow of the affected person. But the minister of the FCT says he's not looking anybody in the face. He doesn't care. He will carry on with demolitions. What does he have to say in defense that he has gone beyond his brief?
Well, I want to first say that the Senate has done what they should do, their job, and with this kind of opportunity too, it will allow for a kind of a discussion. Those who have made allegation will now have opportunity of coming with evidence to back up their claims, and this is how I
I didn't even know that this thing went. Oh man, my network knocked it out. I'm so sorry, guys. Let me share again. We're going to start the video from. Can you all hear me? I hope you can hear me. Please let me get a yes if you can hear me. This is wow. Can I get a yes? You can hear me. Can I get a yes? You can hear me. Can anybody hear me? I'm waiting to be heard, though. If somebody got land in the 80s, has all the documents. You people just come from nowhere. You want to come and take it from them. Ah, hey, God, I beg, go. Make God not let person go. You go gather your wealth, gather your future, work your butt off. Then you decide, say you want, when you supposed to dey chop the fruit, some wicked winke from some, God forbid, though. This thing reach make this woman just get hypertension. Hey, God, I beg. Come go buy mama only mama. What kind of country have hey, this is sad though. Honestly, I no lie, this is sad. And the wicked is now allotting the land to his friends. Did you hear this? What's this man say? What's this man's name? I saw a video yesterday where the man was saying the land in Metama, Wuse to Metama side, all those Wuse for Abuja, it belongs to how many families? Nigeria is a crime scene, no. Omo, hey, God, I beg. let's continue. I have to start the video over again, my people. Let me just move it to where after the woman has spoken. Let me move it. Okay. Hey, God forbid. What kind of country is this?
The right of reply to Rita Lori Ogbebo's accusations against the minister, Nyesom Wike, and the FCT administration is Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications to the FCT Minister, Olalere Olayinka. Olalere Olayinka, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.
Well, good morning, my very senior colleagues, sir.
Good morning.
I greet you so specially. And good morning to my junior colleague, Hussein Rufai, and the other person.
Well, very quickly, you know, in the Senate yesterday, there was also an issue about this. And the Senate has now issued a directive to say that the Federal Capital Territory Administration should halt further demolitions in the FCT following a motion brought to the attention of that esteemed body by Senator Ireti Kingibe. And the main allegation is that the FCTA has gone beyond its mandate and even its own declared objectives of focusing on illegal structures. And, you know, in that regard, they talked about this estate, life camp, established by Colonel Paul Ogbebo. And you have listened to the, objections raised by Chief Rita Lori Ogbebo, the widow of the affected person. But the minister of the FCT says he's not looking anybody in the face. He doesn't care. He will carry on with demolitions. What does he have to say in defense that he has gone beyond his brief?
Well, I want to first say that the Senate has done what they should do, their job, and with this kind of opportunity too, it will allow for a kind of a discussion. Those who have made allegation will now have opportunity of coming with evidence to back up their claims, and this is how I believe a country, a society we should run. This is how I believe that we should operate. So the minister has been invited, and I'm sure that the other people who are making claims too have been invited. So they have opportunity of now coming openly to the public to say these are evidence of our claim to this land. Because you can only talk about a land being taken from you if the land belongs to you in the first instance. If you don't have genuine legal claim to a land, you cannot come out to say that a land has been taken from you. I listened to Chief Mrs. Rita Lori. I read what he said on Arise. I know that, and I didn't see anywhere. I have not seen anywhere where she presented any document from the government to back up her claim that her husband's company, Polosa, owned that land, the land in question. All that she has come to say is to display emotion, to whip up sentiment. Oh, my husband is late. Oh, my husband have children. Oh, what will my children say about their country? All those things will not matter anywhere concerning this matter. The only thing that will matter will be for Chief Mrs. Rita Lori to come up with documents showing that the land was allocated to Polosa Construction Company in 1984, that the land was allocated to that company to build an estate. We should have that document first. We should have probably right of occupancy. We should also have probably, at least if you have been occupying a land for over 40 years, you should have certificate of occupancy. She has not presented any. And the truth of this matter is that she does not have any. Because
no,
that
Larry,
land in question,
Larry,
let me give you a
sorry
let me give you a brief history of that land.
No, sorry to interrupt you. You will.
All right.
Now, about documents, she shows some documents, and we just played that video this morning.
Yeah.
You know, a sheaf of papers showing that she has some documents. Martin Ose, popularly known as a very dark man, also was shown yesterday, you know, brandishing some documents. Are you saying that those documents are fake? And that somebody who has exercised the right of possession in the law of real property, possession is the main thing since 1984. So there's something there, you know, for students of land law.
I was about to start with a brief history.
Paying your bills on time raises your credit score, right? Wrong. In fact, this is one of the 3 major credit score lies you are being told by
on the land. In the early 80s, construction companies were given space and that's why I know that place is called Life Camp. It was a camp for construction company. Polosa 1, Aprofim 2, Costain 3, and I'm also aware of Stabilina Ficiloni. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's an Italian word. So other construction companies were given space there. When you have a contract to build road or do construction, you need a temporary site office. That place was allocated to all those construction companies as temporary site office in 1984. The condition will be that after finishing your job, you leave the site. It is like maybe a road being done in my village. And I now look at, okay, this road is going to benefit my village and my family land is close to the construction site. And I now give my family land to the construction company to use as temporary site office. After constructing the road in my village, will the construction company still stay on that land, build structure on it, and rent the structure out to people? And that is exactly what Polosa has done. Other construction company, Aprofim is no longer there. Costain share the same fence with Polosa. That is their land. Costain is no longer there. Right. Stabilini is no longer there. So why is it that the only company that is now there claiming ownership of a land that was given to be used as a temporary site office for construction job is Polosa? And the reason is simple. We are running it because it is Nigeria. It is government. Anything goes. All right. And somebody has come to ask question. A minister is saying that, no, we can no longer continue to run like this. You cannot be given a land to use as a construction company. After finishing your job, you are still there. You have now built houses and you are renting the houses to people to live. And that is why I've asked, there are 2 documents that will give you claim to own land anywhere. Right of occupancy, certificate of occupancy. I challenge Chief Mrs. Rita Lori to produce any of these 2 documents on that land. Now, like I said earlier, she does not have any.
Okay. I think even beyond challenging, Mr. Egos Enogase, who was representing the estate, the general manager of the estate, had come out to say they didn't have it. But in that interview, and according to his statement, the family are in the process of, they're processing the certificate of occupancy and the right of occupancy. They said out of the 42 million naira, 10 million naira has been deposited. Bearing in mind that this land was allocated, or they've at least been on that land for 40 years without anyone coming to regularize it for so long a time, don't you think they ought to have been given the first right of refusal rather than, almost pull the rug off their feet and then reallocate it to somebody else? If you were going to reallocate it to someone else, you might as well give them the option to regulate, since they are willing to regularize.
The average person sees around 10,000 online ads daily. Here's how a man's life would change if he used.
Well, they were given option to regularize. they had the offer letter dated February 1, 2023. That is like 20 months ago. They had a letter to say, okay, you have occupied this land illegally. And let me say this again. In Senate claims, in a normal situation, owners of that company should have been arrested for occupying government land illegally for over 40 years. You cannot do that in civilized society. You cannot come and tell me that because you are a soldier, because you are a woman, you now go and occupy my property for 40 years. Can anybody occupy your own land or your family land for 40 years without paying, without authority to do so? Now, instead of government wielding the big stick and saying you are a criminal to have done this, government was magnanimous enough to say, okay, they wrote a letter to the government asking for their ownership of the land to be regularized. And government responded on February 1, 2023, 20 months ago, that, okay, we are offering you land. Come and pay this under this and this condition, terms. It is like a student applying to say, University of Port Harcourt, I want to study law. And University of Port Harcourt offered that student provisional offer of admission and saying that, oh, you have to pay acceptance fee for us to know that you have accepted this admission. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 20 months, the student did not write. But
they say they have paid at least a sum of the money and that they were willing to make the rest of the payment. That's what she said.
Do you?
And also, sorry, Mr. Alainka, let me just finish my question. Also, there's also the adverse possession, squatters' rights. That's why I highlighted the number of years that were there without being accosted by the government. And now the opportunity to regularize, which you said you offered them, they're saying they have the money to pay, but you came with demolition trucks to kick them out and reallocate the land to someone else. So that's the question. That have they paid the sum of 10 million naira? Are they in the process of regularizing?
That is the same thing. That is the same thing I'm trying to tell you. They had 20 months to pay. They did not pay. 20 months to pay. They did not pay. You see, when they got that letter, if you have been angling, if government has been troubling you, leave our land, you now have opportunity of regularizing your ownership of the land. Will you wait for 20 months to pay? They had that option. They had that chance of paying. They did not pay. Then I've seen documents of saying they pay 10 million. And I saw that document. The document is showing that they pay for certificate of occupancy. Do you pay for certificate of occupancy on land not allocated to you? The answer is no. I saw the document. I saw what is written on it, that they pay 10 million for certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
So how can you go and pay for certificate of occupancy on the land that has not been allocated to you? So they should come and tell Nigeria, tell the public, tell the government too. Who did they pay that 10 million to?
Okay.
For what reason did they pay that 10 million?
Okay. Real quickly, let me come to you on this. What was the condition?
Amazon hates this, but there's nothing they can do to stop it. There's an intelligent drone shaking up the photography industry, and it's so advanced.
In the terms gave them for the regularization of the land in the first place? What conditions? What amount were they meant to pay? I want to hear from the horse's mouth. What were the conditions
Mr. Hussein Rufai, using the word "you guys" on us is insulting.
No, you guys. I mean the FCDA commission, the minister, and all of that. All right. So the FCDA commission.
Use the correct word.
Please, it's no, Mr. Larry Olarinka, you can't come here and teach me my job.
I'm coming.
Please, with due respect, I will not come and encroach on your job because you came in here and you said also you can't come and teach. It's not about age. I'm just asking you questions. Just answer the question, Mr. Olarinka. All right.
I said I am your senior on this job, so I can teach you.
Answer the question. You guys, I'm talking about the FCDA. What were the terms of the contract? Just go ahead, please.
I'm answering your question, and in answering your question, I can also teach you because I am your senior on this job.
I mean, it's not
Get
a
that
case
right.
of age or seniority
Now,
here. Just answer the question.
The condition, this is the letter written to that company. This is the letter written to the company, and the conditions are well stated. Pay ground rent, pay this, and I can see the condition as there. You pay.
What are the terms? Can you read it out? Can you read it
naira.
out? Can you tell us the terms? How much is it in total?
Well, the terms is here. The light, okay, premium on the land, which is 2,330,000. Okay, let me put it this way. Premium on the land.
Do you have a total there? Just tell me the total, Mr. Lainka. Tell me the total of the amount.
I'm talking about 2.3 million. I'm coming. 2.3 million, 11 million, and 43 million. That will amount to like 11 plus 43. That is 40. That is 54 plus 2. That is about 57 million. I mean, no, 50. That is about 67 million.
Okay, so you're saying 67 million.
67 million.
Okay, Mr. Lainka, you're saying it's 67 million they were supposed to pay. I want to also talk to you about, she also made another allegation of a certain Mr. Chinda owning a company that is linked to your boss. What's your clarification on that? I challenged her on that, but I want to get also your clarification on that. So, and has that company paid that 67 million?
Let me say this clearly. Assuming but not conceding that company you are talking about belongs to Honorable Chinda. Number one, the question I want to also ask you is that, are we saying that because Nyesom Wike, who is from Rivers State, is a minister of FCT, anyone from Rivers State cannot be allocated land in the FCT? That is one. Are we also saying that because Chinda worked with Wike in the past, like 15, 16, 17 years ago, because of that, if he now needs a land, if a land is vacant and he applies to buy, he cannot be allocated that land?
Look, dirty, disgusting, doesn't matter. It's still going to put it out every time. No heat transfer. My hand is.
The issue is we are getting too sentimental. There are two issues here. And the first is, I'm coming. Does Polosa have any claim to the land? The answer is no. They don't have any claim to that land. Does the government have right to sell the land to whoever that is willing to pay? The government has right to sell his land.
Okay, so
no,
so can I come in here, please? Mr. Alenka, ask the questions. Let me ask the questions.
Yeah, you can come in. Yes, you can.
So
you can come
I'm asking: has Chinda's company now paid for that land that you said Polosa couldn't pay for all this while?
I'm not agreeing with you as Chinda's company.
No,
I'm telling you that.
No, I'm just asking a question.
The person to whom,
as the question, Mr. Leary, listen to me.
As paid.
Mr. Leary, so the company that Chinda is involved in has paid for that land already. That's why you guys are enforcing the ejection for Polosa, right? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Have they paid for it?
A letter was written to Polosa. I'm coming. A letter was written to Polosa dated October 10, telling Polosa that offer that we gave you 20 months ago, we are revoking it because you did not honor the terms and conditions.
Okay, no, cut to the chase.
Like I said the other time.
Mr. cut to the chase. Cut to the chase. Has Chinda's company now paid for that land? The one they've reallocated to now, has he paid for the land?
Chinda, wait, the company to which the land has now been allocated has paid, and all documents has been handed to the company.
Okay, when did they pay?
You don't get documents of government.
No, when did they pay? We just want to get the clarity of it.
When did they pay?
When did they pay?
Well, from this letter that I'm showing you, the offer that was given to Polosa was revoked via this letter of October 10.
Can I ask my last question?
So
Can I ask my last question?
Yes.
Did they inform Polosa?
You can ask, yes.
Did they inform Polosa that Chinda Company Company was about to pay and the offer was about to be taken off the table? Or they just informed Polosa that the offer is taken off the table? Did they give them the right of first refusal when Chinda's company was about to pay?
Wait, they already had offer. They had offer since February 1.
Mr. Lainka, we both agree. Listen to me. Just listen to me. Mr. Lainka, just listen to me.
I'm coming. Let me finish this. Let me finish this. I'll listen to. Let me finish this. I beg. Let me finish this. I beg. Polosa got an offer on February 1 last year. That offer was revoked on October 10 this year. So any other transaction thereafter will not involve Polosa. It doesn't. What will be the moment of Polosa?
Larry, I would like to ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
President, I said president.
Okay.
He probably wants to become president. Minister Wike is quoted to have said, "I will not look anybody in the face. Let the heavens fall." Even after the Senate had said, processes should be halted. Is the minister of the FCT saying that everything he has done with regard to the demolition of illegal structures, whether it's the Ogbebo, case or in every other case, is something legal and lawful, and that there has been no abuse of power?
Let me correct this impression. The minister made that statement before the Senate resolution.
Okay.
He made that statement at about 1 p.m. yesterday, and the Senate resolution came after. So that statement was not directed at the Senate. It was on the rest of the Senate.
But he says the heavens can fall.
Let me also tell you this.
He says the heavens can fall. He can do as he wishes.
Well, if the minister is saying that, he's not looking at your face, and he's not looking at your face. He's looking at the propriety of your transaction with the government. Let me give you an example. About a few days ago, advertisement was placed in many newspapers advertising the names of those who are owing government on lands. There are 9,532 people that have collected allocation from government and have not paid for the land. Those names have been published. The land number, and allocation has been published with it. And they have been given a time frame to pay, after which they will lose their land. Let me mention it here. One of the people whose name were mentioned is former President General Ibrahim Babangida. Another person there was former governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom. Samuel Otom is a very close friend, political ally of the FCT minister. His name was published. His name was published. The minister did not say, remove the name of my friend. No. So what he's saying is that he is not going to operate with you, deal with you on the basis of friendship. He's going to operate and deal with you on the basis of doing the right thing. So he's saying that if you regularize, if you have land genuinely, you don't have any issue. Even if you are his enemy, you will not have any issue. But if you don't have genuine ownership of land, even if you are his wife or you are his friend, you have issue, you lose the land. And I am saying this here again. Those whose name have been published that are among those 9,532 people should go and do what they need to do. Because when the government now chooses to revoke their allocation, that is when they will come to TV station. That is when they will call social media activists. That is when they will call people who went to do law in the night, that did baseless laws, to come and be talking for them on social media. They have opportunity of regularizing their ownership now. And we are calling them to go and do that now. If they don't, they will lose those lands. The minister will not look at your face, whether you are his friend, whether you are his enemy. He will only look at the genuineness of your claims. Simple.
Okay, well, Olalere, what if Polosa brings the money today, the company? Would the FCTA
Polosa can no longer bring money because the offer they gave Polosa. I'm telling you this now. If as a student you were offered admission to a university, 20 months you did not pay you did not pay acceptance fee, you did not do registration. The school now chooses to give give that slot to somebody, to a student who is ready to pay. After the student has paid and have taken the admission, can you now go back to the university and say, oh, you are now ready? Will the university wait for you?
Anyway, the conversation continues. We'd like to thank you very much, Olalere Olayinka, for presenting, the other side of the story, defending the minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Thank you for joining.
If you have land in Nigeria, better go collect CFO. Amaka, I support that too. So if tomorrow now, and I'm borrowing from your comment, Amaka, your village now becomes the capital, federal capital. Now, so one minister, one Pangolo minister, when they drink Ogogoro go come, he go say, he go just wait, yeah, man going to be your grandpapa, them, grandpapa, grand. They will just come, they go say, CFO, no CFO, no CFO. They go take land from person hand. Nigerians, if you not like, we could not continue to sleep. I don't talk am. I say this man, if he don't sell the country, finish. If he don't sell and put am for French people hand, we never know. May not be say we go house one day, they go say, oh mo, you just see big gates. You say, you can't write language, French language, bobozedu, bude, bule. You see what this wicked they do? If they allocate land, give his friends, all in Rivers friends, all in family members, now they allocate land. This man could not even answer Rufai's question. He used, let me finish, please, I beg you. He used her. He used her take cover Rufai mouth. May Rufai no insist. He not fit answer the question. Did you people give them right of refusal? How can you just take somebody, okay, you agree that land was given to them or whatever the case was for construction, whatever. And you did not consider the fact that this man has served the country. I've never seen it happen anywhere else. Even here, with military houses and their loans and everything is different. You know, if you show up now, go collect what you belong to military person. You know, people collect their benefits. Lie. Now there go day. Nigeria, they don't care whether you sacrifice your. This is why to fight for Nigeria they hard. Can you imagine? Man, when you don't sacrifice in blood for that country, you now want to collect in land because it suits you people. You people are not speaking English. See this one now with white hair. They call person, now you're my junior brother, you're my junior colleague. Thunder fire junior, thunder fire senior, thunder. Now that one want to take cover Rufai mouth. He say and the other person, you know, even if he mention the woman name, no respect, no regard for women. This is how much they disrespect women in that country. He just totally ignored her. And we want Nigeria to get better. There's no way Nigeria can get better if we don't get it right. See the way it takes disrespect. I know these journalists for Nigeria, very funke people. After Nami, I don't respond. I go say, oh God, my name is. What is that rubbish? Honestly, they need to be calling out some of their behaviors. Look at him, looking like a I don't know what, with white hair all over, destroying the country. Look at him coming to speak English on national channel. They speak English. Now, so now English when no done. Now they speak English past the Englishman. Meanwhile, see their country, jaga jaga everywhere. Eh? It's crazy. The first man, the first cadet in the military, you people cannot even respect the man. Ha! No, this is an abomination. You cannot respect a man that has given, sacrificed his all. Now that the man is gone, you want to now squeeze his family out. No, 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 no. This is unacceptable. It's unacceptable now. How can you carry the land, you go and give it to, you sold it to your friend? You are asked there, you will find they ask a question, say, are you trying to stay a reverse person? Is that the question that was asked you? Is the person that owns the land, is the person not from a place? Is he not from a place? Is his wife not from Niger Delta? Are you people kidding me? This is how we're going to keep quiet. They go sell Nigeria all of, oh God, you people should go and check, oh. You people, oh Jamie, Nigeria. Every day, strange things. Eh? A whole drunkard is your minister of your capital, of your state capital. Eh? Look at with different patches on his face. I don't care whatever. You can, there's no regard for the citizens in Nigeria. Utter disrespect. Anyway, until Nigerians know what to do, until you people learn to demand that respect from these monsters. That's what it's going to be. Unfortunately, this is how it's going to be. Telling you, my sister, criminals. All about Jesus say the country gives me headache. You know, we know they give headache, my brother or my sister. I don't know that you be man or woman. Oh, good though. Criminals in charge. I'm telling you, Pablo, it's crazy. Eh? Exactly. One thief go collect, another one go grab them. Exactly. All of them stealing, and enriching their relatives and their friends. Eh? Your land ownership depends on government in power. Can you imagine? Olegba. Exactly. Thief take am, thief carry am. Eh? So if you get land, you dey panic. And you people are saying investors should come to Nigeria. Please, how? With your hand-earned money now, you go and buy land. Only for them to turn around and tell you that, oh, new administration in the office, that land that you buy last year, sorry, it's no longer your land. Hey, God, I beg you. You come and say na your retirement money you go take one. You know, say na one chance you enter. Nobody should invest in Nigeria at this time. It is very risky. You're on your own if you try it. You are on. I don't care who is promising you. I don't care who is telling you, oh, don't worry. Once government change, exactly, automatic VIP. I have a friend who's military. She goes store like this, almost everything when she dey buy na next to nothing. Actually, they even get their stores when they do. They get their store where they go buy things. Eh? It doesn't matter what criminal government in power. Once a citizen has properly procured their land, no criminal authority, no matter the differences, should take what belongs to you. Otherwise, exactly. This woman was showing the C of O, showing all the documents. Even a very dark man had the document. Look at this man coming to lie to the Nigerian people. They asked him a question. He said, are you trying to say a reverse person? Can you imagine gaslighting? Is that the question? The person that owns the land is from a place too. The person that owns the land is from a place. His wife is from Niger Delta. What are you talking about? Eh? My people, rain dey fall heavily for here. Abeg, make I go drink cocoa, hot cocoa. Now here I go drop am. If any other thing come up again, I fit come outside, you know. But if nothing happen, Now go here for me, one here for me. So I want to thank all of you for joining me. Jagu left, I know, because my network was kind of funky at some point. Natu, thank you very much. Mr. Pereira, thank you. Pablo, I appreciate you. Now well done. Amaka, thank you. All about Jesus, I beg. He said they give my headache. They give all of us headache, but we must continue to push. What do we want to do? Now the only country where we get be that. Kene, thank you. Now well done. I appreciate. Thank you all. I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye. Have a great rest of the day. Bye for now. Hey, Misty, thank you. Bye for now.